Welcome back, ATL. We are back in studio tonight, and y'all, I'm really, really excited because Thomas Williams here is super incredible. And he's actually a transplant like me, so I'm really excited from New York City out in ATL.
Yeah.
Yes, let's get
I'm
it, New
excited
York.
about it.
Although it's ATL Rise, New York and ATL got a lot of similarities.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm so glad he's here tonight. I'm going to read his bio. We're going to be talking about youth empowerment and innovation. We're going to also touch on leadership. So we want you to stay into the end because this podcast episode here is really going to enlighten you in so many ways. Thomas here is so inspiring, and I hope you stay into the end. So Thomas Williams, really quickly, known as Williams, the brand, is the parent liaison at Mount Zion High School, which is part of Clayton County Public Schools. Known as a workplace and school culture innovator and a youth program architect. I love that. He has a bachelor's in human services, and he's pursuing a master's of public administration. Thomas has served 16 years. He's dedicated in all areas of youth development and has 8 years of experience in facilitating professional development. He's also an accomplished grant manager of 10 years and served as an administrator in New York City schools, public schools. And so we're so happy to have him here again. Thank you for being with us and for sharing this space with me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so we have so much to talk about.
Yes, we do.
And I'm like, where do we start? Because you know a lot. You have so much insight and so much passion into youth development. So I like to start off by understanding the story, the why behind that passion. What made you get into this work? It takes a special person to work with youth and to deal with very real issues of trauma.
I'm glad that you asked that question first. That wasn't planned. I'm glad, right? I always tell people in the business world and when you're connected with people, what is your story, right?
Yeah.
What is your narrative? Because that's what's going to connect you to people. Because no one cares how much you know, so they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And so my story about what got me here today is the fact that I remember my grandmother telling me as a little kid, Mookie, that's my name my family calls me, when you get this piece of paper, I'm going to get you a car.
Wow.
Now, she has come and gone. She did not give me a car.
Oh, Grandma.
But that's not the point. But my
Right.
grandmother also had 12 kids, and I have
Wow.
5 of my siblings. There's 5 of us. And none of my aunts and uncles have a college degree.
Wow.
As a kid, none of them had one. And none of my siblings graduated from high school.
Wow.
So when I was young, I wanted to be a police officer. I was dedicated to that passion. Me and my best friend, Mark Leary, we said, we're going to go into the academy together. And during that time, when she told me, when you get this piece of paper, I'm going to get you a car,
Right.
my feelings was hurt because I later realized that the greatest expectation that my grandmother had for me was a high school diploma.
Wow.
That was the greatest level when you think about the fact that none of my aunts and uncles had a college degree, and my siblings didn't make it out of college, and my brothers are successful brothers of the street, right?
Yeah.
So then I said, wow, a system has failed my family.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, it's time for me to go to college and commit to a system that I believe has failed my family.
A new system.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I just weaved my way in, starting from the bottom to learn the different systems and the different outlets and different educational ways and traffics to figure out where do I fit in to not be on this level teaching, but to kind of imprint the system that will offer the communities that I came from the kids that look like me,
Yes.
something more.
Right.
Something more.
That is so powerful.
And that's what put me into education.
Yeah. And that's your no one can take that from you
Nobody
because
can
it
take
is
that
your
from me.
lived experience.
Yes.
It's in your DNA. It's what makes
Yes.
you what makes you so
You
passionate.
can't copy this
No.
because it's
Can't go
not.
to school and learn passion
You
like
can't.
that. No.
Yeah. I would do this work for free. I
Wow.
appreciate the money.
Right.
Sometimes I complain about the money I make, but I'm
Right.
here because I would do the money for the work for free.
Tell us,
sincerely.
what do you do in a nutshell? What's your role? What do you do every day?
Oh gosh, as a parent liaison of Clayton County Public Schools, which I love. I think that I work for the best high school in Clayton County, Mount Zion High School.
Shout out to Mount Zion.
And Principal Blocker, and now Principal Blocker has been promoted to the executive
Congrats.
director over discipline for the Clayton County Public
Wow.
Schools. And now we have the
Huge.
wonderful past assistant principal, Ms. Grant,
Wow.
which is awesome. She's there filling in. So I get to work with incredible people as a parent liaison under Title I federal funding.
Right.
And really the goal is to bridge the gap in the communication between the parents and the school and kind of integrate them and kind of make assessments from the teacher's perspective on materials to teach the parents how to support their child in at-home learning, right?
Right.
Because they don't have the same level. A lot of these parents don't have the same level of education, but we can still give them the tool.
Yeah.
I would say to Rashim all the time, I would say, I may not know it, but it's my responsibility to get you the resource to learn it.
Right.
It's not an excuse for me as a parent not to know it and not to give it to you.
Right.
Because as an adult, I know better. I may not have the intellectual knowledge to give it to you, but I have the resources or there's outlets to get it for you, right? So that's the kind of the support that I give to the parents. Some of that also includes just some counseling sometimes, or just a listening ear, or being a resource to figuring out. A lot of our parents are homeless, as I shared with you previously.
Right.
Over 60% are homeless or displaced. So sometimes giving them resources, sending them to food pantries, sometimes just listening to them, being nice when they're not nice, right?
Oh, yeah.
Not owning that energy, because it doesn't have anything to do with me.
Oh,
It's situations and circumstances. And if a child don't have what they need at home, they cannot be focused in school.
That's right.
So if we're talking about children not having a place to eat sometimes, a meal. In my office, I get mad at the adults because they come in and steal the snacks that I
It's
steal.
for the kids.
Yeah, I want them to come.
Yeah.
I understand. Sometimes they say, Mr. Wincap, some of your food? Sure.
Right.
Some of them don't eat. Some of our kids come to school with blankets on. That's their code.
Wow.
You know, when I first got here, I was frustrated because in New York, they're not allowed to wear sandals and stuff without a sling bag. And then I had to understand that this is what they have.
That's what they have.
But at least they're coming.
That's right.
So for some reason, some type of community, if it's not even to learn, it's for a meal.
That's right.
And we need to cater to that and nurture that, you know, is to provide them with a safe space and a good education.
That's
And
so
teachers that love them.
It's so powerful. What are the similarities and differences that you've seen in New York City public schools and now in Clayton public schools?
Oh, wow. I was hoping you didn't ask that. Yeah, I think I was in the car talking to my son. I was like, I don't want to ask that. Because the thing is, you know, I live in Georgia, and I love the state of Georgia, and I don't want it to, because then it's like, when they go back to New York, if it's so good. Not that New York is the best place, right? Because I live here now.
Right.
But there is a big educational gap, right? And the fight was different. The behavioral fight was different.
Yeah.
I knew my crazy in New York. And this is different, right? For lack of a better word.
Right.
And I knew the system of the educational system, and it's different here. We have GMAT, we have all these other assessments that's totally different. But when I first moved here, I said, Thomas, I didn't work for the first year. You know, thank you, Board of Education, for that money. So I had the luxury of not working for a year, right, for the first time in my life.
Right.
But then toward the 6 months afterwards, I said, let me see what the educational system is like.
Right.
And actually, Educators Now is the agency that got me here.
Right.
And I started to sub in different schools and getting a taste. And that's when I said, oh, no, I would never teach here. I don't know what this is about.
Wow.
Yeah, I realized that we had, I'm not going to say the schools, this was not Clayton County, but the school districts that I did work in and the school agencies that I worked in, a lot of the fifth graders could not read or write. That took me by storm.
That's really sad.
There was days that I sat to do, they gave them assessments every single Friday, spelling tests, where the highest grade sometime was a 30. Maybe there was one kid,
so
maybe
sad.
once a month I had one kid that got an 80. But the highest grade was a 30. And so I found myself complaining about that. I had to do this assessment every week. But then writing in the 0 out of the 10 or the 30, a smiley face. And writing on 30 papers, I still believe in you. Wow. Kids come to a school building in the elementary school level, strange. This is a new environment. Right. Not confident, not sure of themselves, not knowing who they are. Yeah. And I did not want to break their spirit. Yeah. You break kids' spirit by giving them a 10. And we're going to do this every week? Yeah. Where's this going to be? How's the educational path going to look that's going to motivate them to want to be something if we're telling them that they can't? Right. That's what that is saying. You can't. You can't reach this platform. Right. You're not good enough. You're not worthy here. It hurt me.
What is that hurts me hearing that as a mother and as someone that loves kids and a professional that's worked with kids for many years. What is lacking? Where are the gaps that's causing these types of outcomes?
I'm not sure because I want to be sure that a lot of the behavioral issues that I've seen that I did not see in New York is from the social emotional learning that was lacked during Corona. I mean COVID, excuse me, during COVID. And them not being able to, haven't been socialized back into the school system. I saw a lot of emotional weirdness, a lot of kicking on the walls and teachers letting them, and me trying to propose to teachers, well, hey, this kid is emotional. This child called me a bald head. This child kicked me. That child punched on the stomach. Teachers all day, second graders, third graders, and me trying to figure out, going to the administrative team. Hey, I'm skilled in restorative justice, so let's go over tier 1. I can give the tools and train your teachers how to do tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. With preventative tools to how we communicate. We have not yet mastered, got back into the groove of how to communicate with each other. But however, if we do have conflict, that's tier 2. How do we dissolve the conflict? And then tier 3, how do we do things to acclimate them back into the classroom? What are they going to do to restore the harm? I have some techniques. How are we going to meet with the parents? We need to involve them. And the principal said nothing. So we're not going to call the parents. There was no systems. Like even in Clinton County, we have PBIS, which is awesome. Right? There was no systems there. So if there was no systems, this behavior is okay. And then when they get to high school level, where I'm at right now, the ninth graders, we have so much of a hard time trying to break some of those patterns and those things that they've been through, right?
Those, because it's really in fundamental years, elementary, especially middle school, that's the time when those skills should really be taught to children. And so it's really disheartening to hear that there are no systems to help kids, because they're not an outcome. They're a human. They're a person. And they have to be treated as such. And their entire needs need to be met in the school environment. Otherwise, we're not helping, we're hurting kids. And that's what it sounds like.
A lot of hurting. I think one of my board members said it should be a crime if we don't do justice in giving them service.
That's right.
It's a crime. We are doing a crime. We are committing a crime by not giving our kids due education.
What role does leadership play in all of this? Be it our politicians or our other leaders, governmental leaders, local leaders, what role do they play in the education system and making sure it's restructured or structured to help kids succeed?
I believe that it's systematic. I think that the higher we go, the less we are in touch with the real need. At this level, we have a fight in us that's different. We see it, we understand it, we're solution-oriented because we're in it every day. The higher you go, I think that people are making decisions that are not in touch with reality anymore. A lot of times, as being a director of a school, my heart was in it. So although I had a grant that said I had to do this, I didn't get lost in the words of the grant. I also assessed the need of my community. And I figured out how to give my kids program that they deserve and how to meet the need of the grant or what's on paper, what the government is saying or what the state is saying. Because my heart knew that they deserve more than just what's on paper. Because if it's not on paper, then have it, right? How did you spend the money? That has to be written down. That has to be documented. Did you send out this? We have to document that. But there's real things happening in these kids' lives. And are we creating tension to resolve some of it?
Yes, and you talked about this before we actually came on. You said as a director in New York City, you were going to kids' houses and making sure you were pulling them off the street from selling drugs and doing other things. So you had the title of director, but you were playing the role of mentor, dad.
At Harlem Children's Home.
Tell us more about
I went there. I was going to, listen, Harlem Children's Home, New York is like a dynasty to work at. So I went there, and I think I started as an after-school counselor. And I worked as an after-school counselor. I said, all I need to do is get in. That was 3 months. After 3 months, they hired me to run the summer program. After I ran for the whole Harlem summer youth program, I created a curriculum, training, all of that. And I got the partnerships with all the businesses, all of that. And then the next month, they're like, oh my God, 3 months later, we're going to promote you again to the assistant director, the co-director with Joelle. She was awesome. And I sat at the table with the executive team. Jeff wasn't there, Jeffrey Canada. And I was so excited and giddy in my young education years.
Wow.
And I was honored, and I said, okay, so what's the hours? And and they sat across from me and laughed and said, did you read Jeffrey Canada's first book? Do you know the name of his first book?
I do not. Enlighten.
Whatever It Takes.
I love that.
And I said, okay.
That works.
I didn't understand what that was until I was there from 6 in the morning. And then to 6, because after school and day school was one component. It was just like an all-day thing. And it was an excellent program. But Jeff did not just believe in school, he believed in community.
Right.
So that meant if at 6 o'clock I went home, 7:30, I went at home in Brooklyn all the way from Harlem, and I got a phone call that a kid was hurt. I got back on the train, and I went back to Harlem.
Wow.
And I met with the family, even if it was a relative. I came up with a plan, for a safety plan for the next day. So then I was back at the building at 6 o'clock in the morning to meet with the staff. It never stopped. Then on the Saturdays, we worked. There was not, if there was a work, we did big initiatives, safety initiatives. We partnered with Target, so that meant I had to be there too. Then there was Safe Walk, which means at the end of school, when we get out at 6:30, the administrators, everyone, had to wear green vests and do a corridor walk. So every school in Harlem had the administrators had to put on green vests and stand outside for an hour while kids walked home so they could know that they were safe.
Wow.
You know, so
That's
so I got that from Harlem Children's Zone. So when I go other places and like people are working in their box, I don't understand what it's like to work in my box. I don't understand that.
And that is what I have seen is the work is so alone, it seems like in ATL, and we got to work on coming together, collaborating. We're not in competition.
No.
We're in collaboration.
No.
We're supposed to be
One
connecting.
vision.
One vision.
The kids.
They're doing the same thing, exactly. And I think if there's any desire I have in Atlanta, in Metro Atlanta, and Clayton, DeKalb, and Cobb County, and other counties, is can we work together? Can we work collectively?
Partnership.
In partnership with one another.
Collaboration.
From top to down and across, because that is what it takes and more. Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
That's what it takes and more.
That's what it takes. That's whatever it takes is what it takes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm committed to whatever it takes. I mean, absolutely. I remember one of the security guards in my building said, "Mr. Williams, that was you that left the building last night at 11:30?"
Wow, from work.
From work at Clayton County, at Mount Zion High School.
Wow, now that is
not because they make me.
That's dedication.
Yes, I'm there on Sunday. He would tell you, I leave home. Where you going? I'm going to the office for a minute. I need to send out some emails.
Wow.
I need to set up because this is happening tomorrow. I need everything to be set. Where you going? I have to go to Sam's for my job because I need to pack some stuff in my car. I need you to meet me in an hour because I need help getting it out the car.
Amazing. Can you come train my staff?
Right.
Because this is, when you're in the business of helping people and the most vulnerable people
That's right.
in our community, in our society, it takes that and more.
It takes cultural sensitivity.
Absolutely.
That we must give to them.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about people who come out of silos, meaning I've come out of what my existence is and what my situation is. And not understanding that when you come into a community, you have to understand your community.
That's right.
That's the first thing. But then the second thing is it takes administrators understanding I work for you. We work for you.
Yeah.
You work for the kids. So it's my position to give you everything that you need, and they will go above and beyond.
Yes.
I remember I had a teacher come into the building, and I just gave her a hug, and she was so heavy. I was like, "You okay?" And she started crying. I said, "You're not okay." And I said, "Go home, but I can't. I have this class. Go home.
Yeah.
I will pay you for today. I'm not going to sign you out. And just take a day, and I'll cover your classes today." That day, I stayed there at 10 o'clock to do the work I needed to do because I covered for her the whole day.
Wow.
And that goes a lot further on how she shows up to work after that.
Absolutely.
Right? Understanding that, what are we giving them? Are we giving them the needs, the supplies that they need? Are we paying them like they weigh?
Right.
Georgia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because they're not making the money that they need to make, but we have high expectations for them to perform.
Right.
Right? And not that people are in it for money, but people need to live.
People need to live, absolutely.
Yeah, when I moved here, I was watching the news. I was watching the news, and it said that most of the teachers are sleeping on their family member's couch.
Oh, my, wow.
Like the administrators make money,
word.
right? I'm not that high in the chain here.
But the teachers.
But the teachers are sleeping on someone's couch.
That is so, that really disappoints me and disheartens me in so many ways. the ones that are doing the real work
Yes.
should be paid accordingly.
They should be paid.
And that speaks to back to the government system, because where are funds coming from? The budget is coming from government.
Teachers are low now. They're saying that now. There are colleges and universities that are closing the education department. They're losing professors to teach how to teach because they're quitting. Because there's no one going to school anymore for education.
Wow.
Right? We're lowering the qualifications to even get teachers just to get them to teach.
So what will education look like? It sounds like
I'm scared.
a crisis.
I'm scared.
Right? It almost seems
scary.
like it'll be obsolete.
Yeah.
In the next 20 years?
Yes, because
based
what it
on
was,
the trend.
we're just reading and writing. We need to get back to the basic fundamentals of reading and writing and arithmetic.
Yeah.
And Clayton County is doing that now.
Great.
We have excellent leadership superintendent right now that is
amazing.
pushing it made my heart glad when I heard him speak, and also Ms. Grant share his vision and how we're getting back to reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Yes.
Right? Our kids are sitting and looking at screens all day.
All day. And it is not good
Right.
for their mental health
Right.
or their physical health.
For the physical
by the
health.
way. Yes.
Right. We give our kids Chromebooks, and I like that. That's
Right.
good. But then when they go to take their test, they must write and read.
That's right.
But we give them Chromebooks to do assessments, that they watch videos and listen to audio.
Right.
And they're so visual to the screen. And we taught them screen.
Oh, yeah.
But now they lose this essence of opening up a book and getting reading, writing, and arithmetic. And I'm
Right.
glad that the superintendent of Clayton County this year decided to get back to that.
That is what we need. We definitely need to find a way to reduce. I'm a big believer. I believe technology is important.
Technology is
AI
important.
is important, integrating it, but we have to use it
More
with-
skillfully on how we integrate it.
effectively.
Absolutely. Because it's necessary.
Yeah.
We're on a
absolutely.
podcast now because technology is necessary.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So it's necessary. We just
Right.
have to manage it better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to learn more about the leadership part, because I know you're also really big in training and professional development. And so I know in a few minutes we're closing, but I wanted the opportunity to pick your brain about leadership. You talked about a story that was very personal before we went on, and that was what happened to you as a leader. You were burnt out.
Oh, yes.
And how that sort of changed you. And it could have
Yes.
made you worse, but it made you better.
Yes.
It made you into the person that you,
Yes.
the tremendous, innovative leader that you are today. Tell us,
Yes.
if you will,
I will.
a
Of
little
course.
bit about that.
So I've, as a leader, I think that sometimes, that's why I always have large respect for principals and
Yeah.
higher leadership of facilities, educational facilities, because I found myself being in a psych ward
Wow.
2 times in my life.
Wow.
And it was from the work. It was from the work. And a lot of people don't want to talk about the
My
work.
goodness.
And my hero, one of my heroes, a friend, Nadia Lopez, extends herself and extends her story on social media. She's no longer with the New York City Department of Education, but she extends her story to help other educators be free in this conversation, right?
Wow.
And what it takes, and how we are all social workers.
Yeah.
The teachers, and no one teaches how to be social workers,
No.
and we are, right? The kids to the students, us to the parents and the teachers,
Right.
and the students. And just at times where I had to pick myself up off the floor
Yeah.
and get help because I pour out,
So
right?
much.
Every day, 12 hours a day, going to the fight, listening
Right.
to 97, 120 teachers tell me their stories and their divorces and their cancer and their this and their
My Lord.
diabetes and their husbands and all the things that they go through individually, and opening myself up to be a vessel for them to pour into,
Right.
right? And then you have all these students that you love on, and some of them are
Yeah.
homeless and they don't have. And the thing is, we want to be Superman. And Jeffrey Canada have an awesome video that you guys should watch called "Waiting on Superman Who Never Comes." We
Wow.
want to be Superman, pouring out ourselves, but to what cost, right?
Right.
And I poured myself out so much to the point that one day, when a friend of mine who worked for me
Yeah.
came to the house at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was disrobed, sitting on the floor
Wow.
in my saliva because I could not sleep for 6 days. And I remember
Wow.
Nadia Lopez said to me the 2 days before, "Thomas, go home." Because I started to get so invested into the work that physically the stress manifested itself in my body.
Yeah.
But I'm showing up with a smile, giving all I can. At this point, with one shoe on and a slide.
Wow.
And she said, "Everyone get out." And she came in the room and said, "Thomas, if you died today, someone else would be in your seat."
Wow.
you have 5 minutes, and I'm taking you home. Nadia Lopez.
Wow.
Get what you need. I'll be going to my office. I'm taking you home. 2 nights later, I'm sitting on the floor, and I'm crying. I can almost cry now.
Wow.
And as I'm crying, disrobed in my most vulnerable state, I call a coworker who I call Mom. And I paid for her cab to get to me because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah. And
she came and stood over me, and she said, Thomas, what is wrong? And I looked up at her, not understanding what I said, and I said, I don't have nothing more. I'm empty. And I realized in that moment, but I never thought it before. Just in that moment when she asked me, and I think nobody really asked me, how are you?
Wow.
I was so busy showing up because I never showed a sign of vulnerability because I was Superman.
But being a black man, how much does that play into
it? It does, because it's not in our culture to be weak. It's not okay. Right. And to be transparent, like I'm on dialysis. I do home dialysis.
Wow.
I do it every other day. And people are going to watch this podcast now. Coworkers say, that boy do dialysis? I do dialysis 3 hours and a half every other day in my house. And I show up to work. And I've been on dialysis for 17 years.
Wow.
And I show up. And no one really takes the time to say, how are you? And I don't need it because I don't feel I need it. I'm not asking for that.
But we all need it.
But we all need it. And we all need this time to heal. And I hadn't given that. I give everything to my students. I mentor them. I buy them clothes. I feed my staff. I invite people over. I buy tickets for people. And it got to the point where I had nothing else. And I did not put the mask on myself first. And then my friend, Dr. Angela Moses, said to me, Thomas, when was the last time you spoke to Deanne? She was a friend of mine. I said, it's been like 3 weeks. You haven't called me in 2 weeks. When was the last time you've been to church? I don't know, 2 months. And I grew up in a church. I wasn't feeling myself back up.
Wow.
And then that year I committed, when I got my mind right, and I had enough medication, because medication is not wrong.
Right.
I decided lunch breaks, I tell people, are imperative.
That's right, or a necessity.
I have a couch in my office. I had a couch in my last office. My principal, Mr. Blocker, came in my office and said, Thomas, you be sleeping here, right? I said, yep, every day. I close the door and I check out. I won't check my emails. I don't text on my phone. I take a moment to listen to myself.
Yes.
Because now I have more longevity.
Yes.
I used to travel all the time. This job don't afford me it. I used to travel a lot because that's a part of mental health. So now I spend a little bit more time checking in on me in a safe space.
That. Yeah. You're just so inspiring in so many ways. And just hearing your story, your vulnerability, your transparency is so powerful. Because I think it frees so many people hearing, people that feel like they have to keep going and keep the smile on their face and not show signs of vulnerability and weaknesses. But reality, I think if COVID has taught us anything, it's how to be human.
And it's okay.
And how to embrace humanity, the human side of you, which is all of it, right?
Yes.
And so I love the fact that you're bringing all of that to your workspace. And I know you're teaching others to do the same as well.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Everyone is important
to
me. I tell my son that.
You are the first. You're the beneficiary of the importance first. And then,
thank you.
Yes. And that's how you can continue showing up and pouring. Because people like you that are givers and that pour out so much, sometimes you don't realize when you are empty.
That's right.
Which is when you said you cried out and you didn't even know what you were saying.
Know what I was saying.
I'm empty. It's almost like the inner part of you was speaking for you.
Yes.
Because you were so used to putting on this shell and this facade. And that's what so many people do, especially in the work of what you said, social work.
Yes. And I want to echo what I heard a woman say. I am my rescue.
Yes.
I have to realize you are your rescue.
Right.
So I am my rescue. And that has that put things into place for me.
Yes.
And now I'm able to give more.
Wow.
I'm able to serve more.
Yes.
I'm able to show up in the world the way that God designed me to show up in the world.
Yes.
Because I realize I am my rescue.
That is so powerful. That's so powerful. I am my rescue, y'all. I just right there can pause and just marinate and like literally meditate all in that because it gives you the power back.
It does.
You're not powerless.
I'm not
You're
powerless.
not hopeless.
I'm not hopeless.
You're not helpless. You can take power back and take power over your life.
Yes.
And especially for your parents, the ones that you work with, the ones that you build curriculum for, those that are not necessarily in permanent housing, that are dealing with different levels of trauma, it's the same for them. They are their rescue.
They are their rescue.
Yeah.
And until they understand that, I'm committed to being the person right beside their side to help them rescue themselves.
That's amazing. I love that. Well, there are educators that are probably listening, social workers, parents. What would you say to those that are hearing us right now?
Be in your purpose on purpose.
Wow.
Be in your purpose on purpose. Yeah. Understand your purpose and operate in your purpose. And God will do all the rest for you.
Yes.
He will do all the
And
rest.
I love the purpose part because this work is about purpose. You can't do this and not be connected to purpose.
Be connected
You lose
to
your
purpose.
mind. You literally need a purpose.
I know I lost it.
But you got it back.
I got it back.
On
I
purpose.
have it back.
Yes.
On purpose.
And so that's when you know you're called to this work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because you have the capacity for it when you do it effectively.
The capacity. Something
Yeah.
I say all the time, the capacity.
Yes.
Yes.
I love it. So tell us how people could reach you, follow you.
Yes, yes.
If they want to find you and perhaps be trained.
Yes.
Professional development, whether it's a company or a school, how could they reach out to you?
Awesome. You can follow me on LinkedIn, Thomas Edward Williams III. Anywhere I go, people mimic that. I think everyone at work say, hello, Thomas Edward Williams III. So please don't forget that. So on LinkedIn, that's my name. And you can also follow me on Instagram under Williams_the brand on Instagram. And you can also email me at twthomas2512 @gmail.com. And on my YouTube, you can also find my personal cell number and also on LinkedIn.
Awesome. And what are your William brand really quickly?
Williams the brand is an educational leadership and organizational development company that facilitates training and partnership and curriculum.
That right there, y'all, is what we need. That's what the world needs right now. And he's building it. He's building the structure. He's building the system for our education system. Because we need a lot of help. We need more Thomas Edward Williams III. I got it right. And I remember Edward only because that was my dad's first name. So thank you again, Thomas, for being here. I appreciate you for sharing this space. Thank you for what you do to our youth, for our youth,
I appreciate that.
for our parents, for our schools, for our entire system, and for finding your place in the world. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me here in this awesome podcast and the avenues that you allow people to share.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And y'all, I'm just so full right now. So I apologize. I'm taking moments back to marinate on the wisdom nuggets that Thomas has given us tonight. I'm going to listen to this podcast a few times over because I believe there's so much sustenance in it. So we want you to do us a favor and share this episode out to your networks, to your colleagues, to your friends, so we can amplify these inspiring and positive messages. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned. We'll see you again next time.